In the summer of 1914, the world stood calm on the surface, but underneath it was already breaking apart. Empires ruled vast lands. Kings and politicians smiled for photographs while secretly preparing for war. No one called it the First World War then. They believed any conflict would be short, controlled, even honorable. They could not imagine what was coming. On June 28, 1914, in the city of Sarajevo, a single gunshot changed human history. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was assassinated by a young nationalist. One man fell, but an entire world followed him into chaos. Europe was bound together by alliances fueled by fear, pride, and revenge. When one nation moved, others were forced to follow. Within weeks, diplomacy collapsed. Ultimatums were issued. Mobilizations began. By August, the world was at war. Millions of young men marched off believing they would return home within months. Mothers waved. Fathers saluted. Sweethearts promised to wait. Few understood that many would never return. The war moved quickly at first, but then it stopped, deadlocked in a nightmare no one had planned for. Across Europe, soldiers dug into the earth. Trenches stretched for hundreds of miles, filled with mud, rats, lice, and the constant smell of death. Rain turned the ground into sucking swamps. Bodies could not always be buried. Men slept beside the dead and learned not to react to the screams. Attacks followed the same brutal pattern. Whistles blew. Soldiers climbed ladders. Machine guns cut them down in seconds. Thousands died to gain just a few meters of land. Poison gas drifted silently across the battlefield, burning lungs and blinding eyes. Those who survived carried scars that never healed. This was not the glorious war leaders had promised. It was slow, grinding destruction. Soldiers endured shell shock, hunger, and endless fear. Letters home were filled with lies because the truth was too cruel to write. If this story has captured your attention, take a moment to like this video, follow the page, and subscribe for more powerful true history stories like this. Your support helps keep these stories alive and remembered. As the war dragged on, it spread far beyond Europe. Battles were fought in Africa, the Middle East, and on the open seas. Submarines stalked the oceans, sinking ships without warning. When the Lusitania was destroyed, hundreds of civilians died, and the world watched in shock. At home, civilians suffered almost as much as the soldiers. Food shortages grew severe. Families waited for letters that never came. Entire towns lost all their young men. By 1917, exhaustion and anger consumed nations. In Russia, hunger and despair ignited a revolution that toppled an empire. Russia withdrew from the war, but the chaos it left behind would shape the future. That same year, the United States entered the conflict, bringing fresh soldiers and industrial power. The fighting intensified. The killing became more efficient. Artillery roared day and night, reshaping landscapes into wastelands. In 1918, Germany launched one final desperate offensive. It failed. Allied forces pushed forward relentlessly. The German army collapsed under pressure, starvation, and loss of hope. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns fell silent. After 4 years of slaughter, the First World War was over. More than 16 million people were dead. Empires had collapsed. Borders were redrawn. An entire generation was broken. The war was called the War to End All Wars. But the peace that followed was fragile and bitter. The Treaty of Versailles punished Germany harshly, planting the seeds of resentment and anger that would soon ignite another, even more devastating conflict. The First World War changed humanity forever. It proved that technology had outpaced wisdom. It showed how quickly civilization could descend into darkness. The echoes of that war still shape our world today. If you found this story powerful, please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Follow this page and visit the profile for more chilling true stories from history. Because history does not repeat itself exactly, but it always remembers.